Multifamily versus single family rentals. Over the past couple of decades, I've owned both multifamily and single family homes as rental properties. I want to talk about what is better and what you should know about both of them. When we start talking about multifamily, we are talking about there's two different segments here. So you've got your single family, your SFR, single family residential, which is right here. Now, under that single family residential is also considered a duplex to a fourplex. So it's got 2 units. Here's our beautiful doors. Or it's got 3 units, or it's got 4 units where it's on top of each other. Now, FHA, VA are going to consider a fourplex, a duplex, a threeplex, all single family houses, but they're technically not. They're just looked at that way for lending purposes because they'll allow you to buy one of these properties and live in that property, rent out the others, and get an FHA loan on the property. But this is all considered single family, even though it really is not single family because they act quite a bit differently. Then what we're going to talk about is multi, and multi is 5 units plus, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you there's also a breaking point here. Depends on who you talk to, but I'm going to say anywhere between 75 and 100 units plus. So this is like 5 to 75, and we'll just call this 75 plus right here. We'll just simplify this just for example purposes. What this basically means is these are multifamily dwellings from 5 to 75 units, and these are multifamily dwellings from 75 units plus, okay? 75 units and more, okay? So let's talk about all of these. Now, first off, I want to talk to you about kind of where I started. I first started by buying a duplex. I moved into that duplex and I turned it into a threeplex and rented out the downstairs. There's a separate entrance. It worked out really well. The reason that I did that is because I had watched my dad buy Plexes. He really liked duplexes, threeplexes, fourplexes. We changed a fourplex into a sixplex. We did an addition. So those types of things where it was like, hey, can we get the property and improve that? One of the things that he really liked about Plexes was the ability to never, very rarely not have income coming in. I shouldn't say never, but rarely, because if one side was vacant, the other side probably had somebody in. So that helped offset the cost of the mortgage, the taxes, and those types of things. What I figured out quite early on is I didn't like Plexes. I owned fourplexes, some duplexes, some threeplexes, and I learned that was my same strategy. I'm going to buy Plexes and I'm going to follow the same strategy. Well, what I learned is I find most people that are in Plexes kind of have this hotel mentality where it's like they expect to make a phone call and have a property manager come and fix anything, like my toilet doesn't flush, this doesn't happen. And most of those things are like rinky-dinky little things that somebody that is has been a homeowner or somebody that is a little bit handy can take care of. Whereas in the Plexes, they just want to make a phone call and have the property manager come fix it. The other thing I found in Plexes is they're typically more transient. And what I mean by that is typically people are staying 6 months and they're getting married or they're going through a divorce or they're moving or they're going to college and so it's more transient. So you're having a lot of turnover. Early on, one of the things that I realized is turnover is the most expensive thing in real estate investing. You don't think about it, but it really is. Let's break this down a little bit. So let's talk about the cost of turnover, okay? Let's say that somebody gives you notice that they're gonna move out, okay? Then you go in there and you've got to recarpet or you've got to clean the carpets, you've got to paint. And let's say that it's not because they did damage to the carpet and paint, so you're not getting their money for that. It's just, that carpet's pretty old, it's got some more wear and tear. It's not like they did anything to make it worse, but it's time to replace the carpet, it's time to paint, it's time to do some of those things. Well, guess what? It's gonna take you 30 days, maybe 60 days to do some of this work. I don't know. You have to find them. You got to get out there, those types of things. Hopefully you can get it done sooner, but it could take longer. It could be sooner. Then what happens is you put the property on the market, okay? And it may take you 30 days to find somebody new that wants to move into the property, but then they need to give 30 days notice before they move out of their current rental, right? If they can move in right away, ugh, what are they just leaving a bad situation? What's going on? So if you look at this, you're 90 days, okay? It could be 60, it could be a little less, it could be a little longer, anywhere from 60 to 120 days, okay? Let's just use 90 for example purposes. Again, I'm just trying to go over basics here, but let's just say it's 90 days, okay? Let's say that your rent was $1,000 a month. That means that's a $3,000 loss just in rent, not to mention the money you had to put into the carpet and the paint. Let's say you spent another $5,000 in that. So you are out of pocket $8,000. Now, yes, did this improve the property? Yes, but you also had to come up with the cash today. Whereas if I would have kept that same tenant in the property for 5 years, I may not have had to do that for 5 years from now. So either way you want to look at this, there is money that's coming out of your pocket. Now, let me grab my handy dandy calculator here and let's talk. Okay, so here we go. We've got my calculator here. So $3,000 divided by 12 is $250 a month, okay? So basically, that is just the cost of getting the notice, the carpet, paint, or without the carpet and paint. The carpet and paint's included here. So basically, if I would have just lowered my rent to $750, I would be making the same amount of money as I would if I had turnover every single year. Most people don't understand this point. If you're having turnover on a regular basis, that is costing you money in lost rents. If it's costing you money in lost rents and you're having to spend money to improve that property, that's more money earlier. I would rather not do carpet and paint now. I'd rather do it 5 years from now, right? I would rather delay that expense because that money has an opportunity cost that I could do something else with. That's one of the things that you just don't understand when it gets to these types of rental properties that I find most people trip over this, okay? Now, the reason why I bring this whole example up is that is happening frequently in duplexes, threeplexes, and fourplexes. And the reason that it's happening frequently, again, is because it's more transient. It's people that are going through situations where if they need a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom type apartment, they're probably not gonna live in that 1 or 2-bedroom apartment for the rest of their lives. Now, let's compare that over to single family houses. Now, my favorite is a 4-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage, or carport. That's for my area. It's gonna be different in every area, but I like to be in blue collar working class neighborhoods. I don't wanna be in the dives. I don't wanna be in the war zones. I don't wanna be in those things, but I also don't wanna be in the nicest neighborhoods. I wanna be in the hardworking neighborhoods of America. That's what I'm looking for. And I want it big enough that a family can move in there. Now, is there a family always move in there? No. Do I only let families? No, but I like to be able to be in a situation where a family moves in there and a family is going to be excited about integrating into the neighborhood, going to the church, getting in with the school system. So I've got a lot of tenants that have been in my properties and everybody thinks they own it. And I'm fine with that. They don't, but if they want to tell people they own it, fine with me. It just means they're going to stay there longer. Right now, my average tenant in a single family house is staying 5 years. Now think about that. As we jump over to the whiteboard here, 5 years, I've saved myself that $3,000 times 5. I've saved myself $15,000 in lost rents because of turnover if I was having turnover on an annual basis, not to mention the amount of money I may be putting into that property just to make upgrades and to make it better. I'm able to use that money elsewhere and defer that to later, okay? So that's a big thing for me, is having that. Now, you're gonna say, well, how do you get somebody to live there for 5 years? This is the secret. The secret to this is you want to make sure that you are renting your property for less than what market is, okay? If market is 1,000, you want to rent the property somewhere between 900 and 950. That's what you want to do. And the reason is then you can attract the very best tenants. Now you're going to have tenants that aren't so good, and you're going to have tenants that are fantastic, because good tenants want to get a good deal, and you can be selective instead of being desperate when you're trying to find a tenant. Now, I will tell you, I would rather have the property vacant and not getting anything than have the wrong person in there, because once you've gone through evictions, once you've gone through having to fix up the properties and those things, it gets so expensive. You're cheaper to have no one in there than have the wrong person in there. Okay, now that's some of the pros and cons that I'm looking at from single family to duplexes. Transient, more turnover, you're gonna have more rent readies. You can get these guys to stay longer if you do your pricing strategy correctly, okay? Now, we get into the multifamilies. Now, multifamilies on a 5 to 7, a couple things to be aware of here. Well, you're talking about a commercial loan. Okay, you're talking about putting 20% down. Yes, can you raise that money? Could you do a limited partnership? Could you bring somebody into an LLC that raises the 20%? You get a loan for the 80%? Yes, but they're gonna wanna make sure the bank's gonna wanna qualify you. So you're gonna make sure you've gotta have good income, you've gotta have debt to income ratio, you've got to have some experience. You're going to need to have a bank that's saying, yeah, we think this guy can do it and we've got some money down, which is usually about 20%. Now you can raise that. That's a more advanced topic for another day. The downside to your 5 to 75 is you are going to have a lot of management. With that size, you can't have on-site management, meaning somebody that lives there that's also managing the property, because it's just not cost effective. It may be 50, it might be 75, it might be 100, but somewhere in that range, you don't get on-site management. Whereas if you get to the 75 plus or 100 plus, then you have somebody that lives there, get a discount, or they live there for free and they're taking care of the property. You've got a manager that maybe lives there for free and they're taking care of those things. So you've got an on-site manager, which makes the headaches quite a bit less for you. Now, regardless if you're using property managers or not using property managers, I think all these things are going to be there. When you're dealing with single family houses, people are going to stay longer if you're a good deal. If you're dealing with the Plexes, people are going to be more transient when they're coming and going, which basically means you're going to have more turnover, which means you're going to lose potential rent and have some more rent readies. If you're dealing with multifamily, you are still dealing with the same issue of the transient nature of people. You're dealing with that on a broader scale, and depending upon what you're able to buy it for and what those rents are, but you are going to have a lot of property management going on there, whether that's you doing it or somebody else doing it. You can't neglect the amount of property management that's going to be happening there. And then when you look at, this is one of the reasons why your big firms are looking at these and saying, we only want 75 plus type units, because they want to have an on-site manager. So those are some of the differences between single family, duplex, threeplex, fourplex, multi up to 75 and 75 plus, some of the pros and cons, some things you need to be aware of, and also what can happen in these different situations. Now, if you are interested in the 13 steps to a successful fix and flip, where you can actually start doing fix and flips, setting up a roadmap to doing that first deal, and what are the most overlooked parts of a fix and flip, I put a video together. You're gonna wanna check it out, the 13 steps to a successful fix and flip. Make it a very profitable day, and bye for now.